Hello, welcome to the video. My name is Chelsea and I'm going to show you my perfect prep meal system that I have been perfecting over the past year. And I've lost 40 pounds on a plant-based diet, and I've always used the similar kind of concepts which I'm going to share with you today. But this meal prep system and this planning system is something that really anyone can implement. There are, I was going to say 6 and then do something different. There are 7 steps system. We got there. That's my husband laughing in the background. And this is something that you can apply wherever you are, whatever ingredients you have, and it's going to require very, very little brain power once you actually step it up. So get a notebook, because if you want to know how to get lean and then stay there without going hungry, then this video is for you. And I'd love to know in the comments if you struggle with decision fatigue or overwhelm, put it in there, because me too. And I've realized I need to make my prep so lazy, otherwise I just won't do it. Little side quest on this prep system. Here's a note I wrote in my phone in January, which was this entire system. And you know that a system works when you have been doing it for that long. It's now April. Real quick, before we get into the 7 steps, the reason that this works is because it allows you to easily get into a calorie deficit. That means that the foods that we're going to be eating are naturally lower in calories, while they also help to keep you full and satisfied. Now, this is super important because if you don't feel full and satisfied, then you're going to end up binging. And this is what happened to me for so long, because I always thought I had to eat less food, and now I eat huge amounts of things like potatoes. Look how good these look. The only way to lose weight is in something called a calorie deficit. And now all diets work this way. It means that the amount of calories or energy that you're consuming from the food that you're eating every day is less than the amount that your body burns. And then what happens is that your body is forced to dip into your stored fat cells. It could be your stomach, it could be your thighs, it could be anywhere you store fat throughout your entire body, and it just slowly depletes them. So think about fat as like your rainy day fund for when you need it. And the reason that you have excess fat is because you've had excess calories. It's not a good thing, it's not a bad thing, it's just a thing that your body does to save you from a zombie apocalypse. So that when you don't get food, you aren't going to die straight away. And all diets work this way. A keto diet, paleo, raw, 75 hard, any kind of exercising where you kind of outwork the amount of calories that you're eating. But what's most important for a diet, after getting you into calorie deficit, is that you can actually maintain it long term. Because if you can't do that, then you're going to end up binging and you're going to end up quitting, and then your calories are going to go back up and you're going to gain the weight back. And this is another reason that it just has to be so easy. So cooking up pancakes one day and then mini muffins the next, and having 5 different types of breakfast and a new meal every single day or every single meal is never going to work. We've got to make it easy so that we actually follow through and do it. Let's do this. Step number 1 is to choose your breakfast. And I'm going to recommend oats because that's what I do. And most of our most successful clients inside of my coaching program, Lean Off Plants, end up doing some kind of either overnight oats or porridge on the stove, oatmeal, or something with oats. And the reason for this is that it's very easy, but it's also very low in calories when you cook it with water and you're careful of the kind of toppings that you put on top. But most importantly, it's full of fiber. So it's going to help you to feel full until lunchtime. And for your breakfast, calorie-wise, you don't have to count this, but I'm saying it so that you don't eat too little. You're wanting that to be about 450 to 650 calories. I've had various oats systems throughout the years, but my favorite right now is just quick oats. I use about 3/4 of a cup, scoop of protein powder, mix it with some water, add a ton of low-calorie fruits, normally raspberries or blueberries, but sometimes I'll add an apple, sometimes I'll add mango, which is a bit higher in calories, but I don't do that all the time, and it wouldn't matter anyway because it's still very low calorie compared to anything else. And then I'll use like a tablespoon of flax, and then maybe some soy milk as well. By the way, I have a video specifically about the oats that I have for breakfast, so if you want some more variety, then you can go look at that next. I got a comment on my last video asking for some savory ideas for breakfast. So if you're not going to do oats or you're allergic, I would recommend a potato-based meal. Potatoes are incredibly satisfying. They're the most satiating food on the planet. So if I wasn't going to do oats, I would use exactly the same formula that I'm going to show you I use for lunch, which is some kind of starch like potatoes with vegetables, and then probably some protein source in there as well. And when you do that, you're mimicking the same formula that I'm using for my oats, you're just using slightly different ingredients. The second step is that we're going to choose our lunch. I know this is going to sound crazy, but I recommend that you choose one lunch. And the reason for this is that this is the system after 6 years that I believe is the most effective. It's going to help you to lose weight fastest, and it's the most simple so that you can actually stick to it. You can do more if you want to, but the more you try and add, the more complexity you have, the more options for decision fatigue, and the harder it is to build repetition because you're doing the same thing less. So if you want to build a habit and you want to really make it stick, you need to do something over and over again, which is where consistency helps you to build repetition and habits much, much faster. And when you have a habit, that's where you can put things on autopilot so that you're no longer needing to use willpower and motivation, which means that you can actually stick to it even if you don't want to, which is how you maintain results long term. That's the goal, right? Not just to do something for 3 months or 2 weeks and then to give up and then gain all the weight back. So to build out our lunch meal, we're going to use a formula that I have talked about in the past, which you may have heard of, and that is the HATS formula. Now, I'm going to actually modify that a little bit because I got together recently with my bestie, Amy, who has lost 60 pounds. You may know her as Broccoli Mum. She's quite big on Instagram. And we came up with a formula that is a bit more protein focused that we are both currently using, and that is the STACK formula. And you can use this for any number of combinations, but I'm gonna give you the most effective, and that is S for starch, and we're gonna use potatoes as our starch. You can use rice, you can use quinoa, you can use sweet potato, you could use oats, you could use any kind of starchy sauce. These are basically just whole food carbs, but the ultimate is to choose potatoes. So that's what we're going to do for this meal prep system. And that could be Japanese sweet potatoes, orange sweet potatoes, white potatoes, it does not matter. They're all the same. So that's S, we choose our starch. And then the T part of this is we're gonna add a ton of vegetables. You're gonna choose non-starchy vegetables. Potatoes do not come into this. Potatoes are starches. Non-starchy vegetables are things like broccoli, cauliflower, snap peas, cherry tomatoes, green beans, mushrooms, capsicum, courgette. Most vegetables are non-starchy vegetables. Really the only ones that aren't are things like potatoes, sweet potatoes, and some squashes. And we're gonna mix and match whatever we want, but use ½ a pound at our lunch. The A of STACK is add protein. So I like to do tofu because it's super easy, but you could also use lentils, you could use chickpeas, tempeh, TVP, textured soy protein. You just want to find something that is oil-free, that is predominantly a protein source. You could also use edamame. And then for this, we want to use about ½ a cup. It's really just a little component that's going to bump up the protein in your meals and help you to have more fiber as well, which is also going to contribute to you feeling fuller. For C, we're going to add a little bit of fat. If you're using tofu, you don't have to use any fat because it already has some in it, but you can still add a little bit more if you want to. So C is control for fats. We really only want to have a small amount. So that normally looks like about a tablespoon of some kind of dressing, like a hummus dressing that has some tahini in it, or a tablespoon of nuts and seeds. Do not use oil for your dressings. Use a whole food source. And if you're going to blend that up into some kind of dressing, then you need to have a very minimal amount because fats are very, very high in calories. And so you can easily have a dressing that is more calories than everything else in the bowl itself. And because we're trying to control the calories so that we can lose weight and keep it off, we have to keep the fat quite low. The last piece of the STACK formula is K, and that stands for kick up the flavor. So add salt and pepper, add some balsamic vinegar, add soy sauce, add sweet chili, add nutritional yeast. You do not have to be salt-free. You want to make your meals as tasty as possible so that you actually want to keep eating them. So S for starch, T for tons of veggies, A for add protein, C for control for fat, and then K for kick up the flavor. And well, let's make a bowl right now. Hello? Anybody home? I really wish I had some greens because I would normally make a salad, but I don't, so I'm going to use broccoli and no greens. About ½ a pound there, and then I also have my carrot. Let's prep up this tofu. Okay, so let's now just air fry this. Alright, we're also going to make a very quick dressing, and I've got some pre-made hummus here. So this one does have like a little bit of oil in it. I'm just going to use a small amount. I don't have like an oil-free hummus in New Zealand, but I'm not too worried about it because it is so small. $1 for this. Lemon juice. Good. Put all this together. Hot. And some chili flakes. Look at that goodness. And look how much food there is here as well. This is really how much food you should be eating if you're trying to lose weight to avoid binging. Step number 3 is we're going to choose our dinners. Now, if you don't have a lot of time and you're cooking something different for other people, or you're cooking just for yourself, I strongly recommend that you use the same formula that you did for lunch and maybe mix it up with a different starch source. So maybe have like a sushi bowl every couple of nights, mix up the dressings that you're going to use for your potatoes, mix up the veggies in there, but still keep that component bowl formula. It's going to make your life much easier and you're going to be able to throw together a meal much faster. If you are cooking for a family and you need a little bit more variety, then my recommendation is that you choose 3 repeatable recipes that you can have a little bit of variation in, and then the 4 other nights of your week are going to be a similar variation of what you had for lunch. So they're going to be still some kind of component bowl, but you can make them a little bit more fancy. And there's 2 reasons for this. The first one being that a potato-based meal is going to be the best for weight loss because it's going to be lower in calories typically than something like rice. It's also going to help you to feel more full and satisfied. It's going to make you enjoy your pasta and your rice and anything else. If you're making noodles or anything else that you're making, you're going to enjoy that more. That's going to feel more like a treat so that you're more likely to gravitate towards those things as like a comfort meal rather than just takeout. It almost like lowers your standard and allows you to have something else to look forward to. So I try and keep my non-potato meals typically for like the weekends or a Friday night, or I spread them throughout the week so that I'm really enjoying them and really looking forward to them. It kind of like resets your taste buds. And then secondly, potatoes are just much lower in calories. They're going to keep you more full and satisfied. So if you have more of your meals based around potatoes, it's easier to get into that weight loss zone. It's very hard to overeat on potatoes, which is why I recommend this. For these other 3 meals that you're going to choose, you still want to make them whole foods. And I've shared lots of recipes on this channel, and they're going to still follow that very similar stack formula where you have some kind of starch, you have a protein source, you have a little bit of fat in there, and then you have a ton of vegetables. So I've just done a video which is 3 recipes that I make every single week that are about like 15 minutes to make. I do a veggie packed miso soup, which is super delicious with rice and then seaweed and avocado. I've got a pasta in there, and then I also have put one of my potato based meals, which is just a very easy component bowl. I'm going to read you a couple of my notes from January when I first built this system. Was I made very sure that I knew what days I was going to be having what meals. And so I had like a Monday was a potato based meal. Tuesday, I knew I was going to be having a meal with our friends that we go to and see every single week. Wednesday, I knew was going to be a potato-based meal. Thursday was another potato-based meal. Friday, I was going to have a component bowl, which was a sushi bowl. And then Saturday and Sunday was going to be those other 2 meals, or really anything that I felt like. So once you've decided on your 3 meals, by the way, don't spend a ton of time on this. I'd love to see it in the comments. Put in the comments, what are your 3 meals? And then just mix up the ingredients. So if you're having pasta, you can have a creamy pasta, or you could have a tomato-based pasta. If you're making a curry, you could have an Indian curry one time, and then you could have a Thai curry another time. You basically just want to create a very simple framework so that you're not using brain power, but then you can mix and match different ingredients depending on what you have available, what you have prepped up. The 4th step is to choose your snacks. And there's 2 options here. Option 1 is vegetables, non-starchy vegetables. This is going to be the best thing for you to snack on during a weight loss phase. So this could be snap peas, it could be cherry tomatoes. Really, any non-starchy vegetable is going to be amazing to snack on. By the way, if you are eating enough food at breakfast, lunch and dinner, you're probably going to find you need to snack less. And if you are still very snacky, you probably just need to eat a little bit more at your main meals, or add in more potato, because potato is going to keep you more full. The other option that you can have is fruit. Fruit is amazing to snack on. It's naturally sweet. So I always have on my counter things like nectarines. I have grapes in my fridge. I have apples. Right now we have feijoas. Knowing what I'm going to snack on means that I'm not reaching for rice cakes or high calorie protein bars or chips or chocolate. My snacks are going to be very minimal in terms of calories. They're going to be 200 calories, maybe max like 300 calories if I'm very hungry. versus thousands of calories that can come from traditional kind of snacky foods. The fifth step is to choose what your non-negotiables are going to be for your drinks. So what I recommend is a maximum of twice a day where you're going to have like a milky, higher calorie beverage. Now, if you're going to have sugar in this, it's going to bump up the calories very, very fast. So this is going to be a sugar-free thing like coffee or tea. So I would have like a coffee and a tea in there, but once you get up more than that, especially if it is like a very milky coffee, like something from Starbucks that has sugar in it, then you're going to be racking up the calories very quickly. If I'm drinking something else, then I will normally have like a very low calorie kombucha, or I'll have something like sparkling water, but I don't drink juice, I don't do any juicing, and I do occasionally drink alcohol, but I save that for the weekends, and it's not something that is in my day-to-day, and I didn't drink alcohol throughout my entire weight loss journey. I didn't drink any juice, I didn't drink any fizzy drinks at all. I had one coffee a day and maybe a tea. The sixth step is to decide on what you're going to do for dessert. Now, I would just recommend that you have your dessert, if you're going to have one, as on specific days of the week or under 100 or under 200 calories. So for me, I typically have like a cup of tea at night, and then on the weekends, I'll have a tea or a Ninja Creamy with something like a Bliss Ball. And I actually check the ingredients, or I check the calories on those so that I'm not having something that is like 500, 600, 700 calories. I save my treats for a specific time, and they're still very much whole foods. You could also have dessert of fruit, like frozen grapes, or a little protein bar, but keeping that idea of you want to have those under 200 calories. You want to keep it as mostly whole food as possible. It's going to mean that you've got something small to look forward to, which makes it much easier to actually be on a diet or a lifestyle change. But it means that you also have like that idea of like, I'm not going to be massively like overeating on calories. What I do when I leave the house and I'm going to be eating dessert, or I'm going to be in an environment where there's lots of dessert, is I just always bring something with me. And then finally, step number 7 is how we put all of this together, and that's going to be your rolling prep system. So because we're only really cooking up our starches and our potato, we just need to have those ready to go, and then our veggies ready to go, and then on any of the condiments that we're using or any of the desserts that we're using, I just have them pre-prepared in my fridge, in my cupboard, so I can grab and go as I need to. So this morning, I cooked up some potato because I didn't have any sweet potato. I know it's very, very sad, but I also had some carrot in there, which is kind of like in between a starchy and a non-starchy vegetable. And I also had some kind of weird pumpkin-y stuff that my mum gave me. I also cooked up my tofu, and I do the same recipe every single time. I just cube it, and then I put some nutritional yeast, I put some vegeta stock, and then today I put a little bit of everything bagel seasoning. And then those two things, my starches and my tofu, are always in my fridge. And then I have everything ready to go, so I can just throw together the meal that you saw. So the cue that I have to know when I prep again is if I'm close to running out of all of those things, or I'm about to run out of non-starchy vegetables, I, as a non-negotiable, that night or that day, cook up more and shop for more, so that I'm never in a position where there are not potatoes or tofu or vegetables or fruit in my house. Like that just does not happen. And then my prep, I never have to think about it, because I just know my prep is go to my cupboard, see what potatoes I have, see what starchy vegetables I have, and then cook them up. And I remember asking one time on a live event that I did with our one-on-one clients inside of Living with Plants, which is my one-on-one coaching program, and all the members at that live, I asked them, like, go and get your potatoes from the fridge. And everyone came to that live and they showed their potato box, they showed their starchy sauces that they had, because they were all ready to go, because we know that this is one of the most important things, like probably the most helpful thing when it comes to losing weight, is just getting into that system where you are on the rolling prep, and as soon as you're close to running out, you cook up more. And so there you have it. That is my 7-step system. It is the system I keep coming back to if I travel, if I start to get a bit too snacky, if I start to kind of just drift away from the potato meals, and I start to see my weight maybe creeping up a little bit. I always come back to this because it is the easiest and most effective way to stay in that weight loss zone and maintain your weight, and it is just so simple because you do not have to think. I hope you liked the video. Let me know in the comments what's your biggest takeaway, and I'll see you next week in another video, and go prep up some potatoes. Okay.